I think I'll give myself 2 more minutes for all those who are attending this Visamo Kids talk could assemble and get here. It's not quite 4 o'clock as yet. Okay, I can see on the chat box that there are people here, so instead of keeping them waiting, let's begin, and I'm sure more people will join in. Now, a very good afternoon to everybody, and I'm indeed grateful to Visamo Kids Foundation and Kalorex Foundation at large for giving me this opportunity to share a few of my views with a learned, sensitive audience, and views on a topic which is very, very close to my heart. The topic, as you might have seen on the invite, reads Spirit of Service. I would extend it a little bit more, Spirit of Service in School Children. So I would be mainly sharing my thoughts which will revolve around the school children. Now, spirit of service is something that I have a very strong feeling that we are born with. Though not biologically, but even then, to make others survive of our species, to make ourselves survive and make others survive of the species, is a kind of a genetic message. But more than that, as we grow up as a social being, we constantly see people doing things for others without asking for anything in return. And we first see our mothers, and then we see our grandmothers, then we see if we are lucky enough to grow up in a joint family, then we may call them in an Indian situation chachi, mami, dadi, but they are all in one way or the other our mothers, and we see in them this spirit of service. And as we grow up, our understanding goes beyond our immediate circle of safety and experience. We begin to see our fathers, the men in the family, that they're performing duties, they're doing things, and not just for themselves, but either for the family, or for society, or for a child. And through each such message, we begin to imbibe the spirit of service. And as they say in English, charity begins at home. So this is a charity, the training for charity, the attitude towards charity, attitude towards service, does actually begin at home. Now, as we grow up, that's when we get into this very, very cruel process of social upbringing. The reason why I'm saying cruel is, no matter how hard we try, the society does tend to make us cynical, does tend to make us doubtful of all the good things, does make us think that will good things happen, but or only things that are not so good, not desirable, they are the ones that happen all the time. So these things of expecting something good to happen, idealism, we feel that they are only the matter of some books and what some great people might have said. Now this cynicism in school children is dangerous. This is something we must, as educators, whether at home or at school, or anyone who is interested in service or supporting service, must bear in mind. We can provide money, we can provide goods, we can provide medicines, clothes, housing, but from the generation of children who are growing up, who will own the society tomorrow, especially those who are privileged, those who can make a difference tomorrow, we must see that they do not grow up with a very strong cynicism. Because that cynicism will give them the feeling of kind of helplessness and insensitivity that, look, I mean, I can't change the world. Therefore, let me turn a blind eye. There's no point, and I can only live an honest life myself. I can look after myself and my family, our needs. That's what my immediate duties are. So, if something needs to be corrected in the society, some people need help. If I know that I can't make a change, instead of trying to make a change in one person's life, at least on one occasion, a cynical person will say, sorry, I mean, I really can't do much about it, so might as well not do it at all. Now, this is a very, very sensitive issue. And I'll come to that, while we carefully avoid having cynicism getting into our children, we must, with all love and care and enthusiasm and joy, sow the seed of the spirit of service, sow the seed of thinking about the others. It may just start from a simple thing like there is some food item and you can see that it is limited. So before I take it, I ask people, would anyone else need it? Can I share it with somebody? Or is there somebody younger who would be very happy to have that? That little bit of feeling that is a typical family feeling actually does sow the spirit of service when people grow up. That sensitivity that I must think of somebody else's happiness or sorrow before I think of mine. I may be feeling miserable, but if I see somebody else in the family is suffering, I might as well be able to say, forget my problem, let me go and ask him. Now, this is how it all begins. It doesn't have to have a very formal training and a workshop and mugging up a whole lot of quotations. Those quotations, at least for me, mean nothing, zero. Now, there must be something that got triggered off when they were school children that prompted some people to come up with a project like Visamo. Someone thought, I'm not looking at money, I will only do the amount that I can do, but that much I will do and try to do a little bit more for the kids who have a very, very unfortunate or very, very a beginning which doesn't look to be too promising for their future growth as useful citizens. So that thought must have come to these minds, like Dr. Manjula Pujashov and Sudeshna, who is now taking such good care of their children. It must have been in them from the time they were in school. I've never spoken to them about it, but I can take a fair guess. It is something that got triggered off when they were in school. They always nurtured it. Come that opportunity, they have grabbed it with both hands. Now, this is what I mean when I say sowing the seed of service early. I'll give an example. We have a grade 11 student. She comes to us one day and says, look, every time I come to school, I see there's this construction going on near school. And lots of workers work there and children just roam around, do nothing very much. I feel very bad. I come to a school, I have a meaningful, purposeful day ahead of me and fun full of activities. Those kids have nothing. And today they are here, tomorrow they will move somewhere else. So what will happen to their education? So I asked her, what do you want to do? She said, sir, I think I would go and give them some books and pencils and so on. So I said, think it through. Do you think they'll be able to use it properly if you give them books and pencils? She stopped and said, no. Said, okay, I don't want to discourage you. Now think a little bit more. What can you do? He said, okay, can I go at times and take my parents' permission, maybe after school hours or Saturday, Sunday, go and be with them and teach them? Excellent idea. What will you do with them? She said, maybe I'll teach them A, K, K or A, B, C, D. So again, we said, okay, think it through. What happens if the child and the family, they move away after some time? Will they continue to be there? Do you think you will be able to communicate with them? She kept looking at me and said, no, there's something that you can do and your communication will be instant. You know, before we could think of, this grade 11 girl said, okay, I've understood. I have to first win them over, so I'll first take lots of cheap quality paper and lots of crayons. I will allow them to paint and draw and make pictures. And in any which language, doesn't matter, I'll play some rhythm and teach them songs. If they enjoy that, maybe I'll play in a bucket if required and get them to move to that rhythm and I get them to dance. And her eyes were glittering. I said, in one word, tell me, what will you bring to their lives? She said, sir, joy. Now think of this, a girl from an extremely privileged background coming to an international Ivy school wants to bring joy to the lives of the children who many others would even hesitate to pick up because they look dirty. Now, this is something that has come to her through her family and through the school. And all we adults can do is to encourage it. So, who knows? Then, this may, build up into a much bigger project. Because a couple of days later, when she started this, she came back and said, sir, once I grow up, I would like to start an NGO where I will have lots of teachers and some medical people who will be part of it, and wherever these constructions are going on, we will open a mini school and all these teachers will be deployed there to teach and help these children. And we will try to convince the government to bring about a law that if you are at a big construction site, you must look after your workers. And one is this: get in touch with any of the NGOs who will provide basic health care and education and joy to their children. He said, maybe one day I'll try and make this a law. Now, whether that day comes or not, whether somebody else does it ahead of her or not, whether she actually ends up doing it or not, that's immaterial. But she has started dreaming big. And that happened because of the school and I'm sure of her family. Now, this is what I mean. When it comes to spirit of service, it's not something very great. It's not something highly philosophical. Little bit of practical things is enough. What happened was, in this case, no one told her, oh, that won't work. Oh, think of something else. No, many people do all these. It doesn't really matter. No one told her this. No one made her cynical. And I really wish, and I would like all of you to join me in that wish, that she, one day, our Tanisi, actually starts that NGO when she grows up. Now, when we talk about service, I really mean, okay, donating money, donating clothes, donating plastic sheets, these are important, very, very necessary. But when I mean spirit of service for the school children, I really mean first-hand experience to the extent possible. To going up to the person who needs your help. He may be from your social background, he may not be from your social background. But you have to approach that person. So this first-hand experience is so, so very important. Now, to create that, what we need to do is to first lay down a few basic rules. The purpose should not be to feel superior to somebody else, which very often happens when people do service, or that's why I'm carefully avoiding the word charity. When people do service, they do it because, okay, I can give somebody things to somebody who is inferior to me, either financially or education-wise or in some way or the other, or health-wise. Now, that has to be very carefully worked upon. It's not about creating a sense of importance and a sense of superiority. It's about making the person feel, if I serve, I gain. If I serve, I gain as a human being. I become a better human being. I'm not talking about earning punya or any such thing. It just gives me a justification for being born a human being, a social animal. Now, that is the approach which we as adults, even people who support NGOs, support such ventures, must keep in mind. That what is the basic purpose? Who is it for? Who should we have as our volunteers? Whom should we encourage to come and join these projects to take these things forward? These are very, very important questions to ask. Now, I go back in time a little bit, two incidents when I was in school. One was, we grew up through the 70s in Bengal. Lot of political upheaval. Many families would worry that what will the children do? Will they, for some reason or the other, get led astray? Will they jump into some political movement without thinking about it and their own? So this used to be quite regular discussions whenever our parents and their friends met. And I could, even as a child of grade 7, 8, 9, I could sense it. Till one day, my Mamaji, Chota Mamaji, Vishwajit Rai, he said, look, I understand that he also had sons of my age. I understand all of us are worried about this political scenario and what's going on in Bengal and what our children are growing up through. But I would be more worried if our children go out on the streets, see their own age group going through horrible child labor, seeing their own age group or even smaller people or unfortunate people living a life which is of such difficulty and terrible conditions, and they just walk past without ever feeling that is there something I could have done for them? Or can I do something which will change their fortune maybe in the next generation? If our children don't show that sensitivity, then I will be worried, then I will think that we have failed as parents. Now this is something which he said, I think I was in grade 8 or grade 9. And I always remember it as a teacher, as a housemaster, as a father, and in any which role, that this is what is the duty of the parents, not to panic in a political situation or worry about the safety of their children. They must also ask this question, are our children sensitive? Do they want to become some kind of an activist mentality against the social wrongs? Do they feel strongly about it? If you feel your children are saying, oh, chalta hai, well, that's the way, can't do much about it, then as parents and teachers, we have a serious problem on our hands. So these are simple things which I learned, which life has taught me, and I'm just trying to share it. You may agree, may not agree, you may have some better ideas too. So let's club it together. Let's all think together. How do we make our children sensitive and sow the seed of true service in them? Another thing, again when I was in grade 10, our headmaster at that point of time, our principal, I was in grade 11, Mr. Shukriyo Tagore, he was from the Tagore family, a highly motivating personality. He told us during an evening walk that, we all felt that we were doing service, we were doing things for the society. But I never knew what it means to be doing something till I had to work in a voluntary organization where we had to treat people who were suffering from something to a stomach disorder on a large scale. It was one area of a city which got infected with some sort of a enteric problem, and they were suffering. And he said, I then realized what it feels to nurse a patient, what it feels to nurse a patient who is absolutely helpless, who is like a child in your hand, and how it feels to give up all inhibitions. He might be wetting his clothes, he might be soiling his clothes, but to bring ourselves to the thing that it is my duty to help him change, it is my duty to clean him up. Even if he vomits in my lap, I would still would like to push those few spoons of ORH into his mouth. He said that if you do this, you will feel that you have become a different person. We heard, we were impressed. 3-4 years down the line, I got an opportunity of something similar. And I realized what he meant. It was one of my close relatives who needed a 24-hour companion next to him in a hospital. And I had to do everything. So, and when he came home and I came out of it, I realized that it's a life-changing experience. I was never the same after this. And I always felt it has transformed me to be a better boy. At that time I was a boy. A better boy than I was before. Now, these are the opportunities sometimes we do not allow children to get in. Of course it is age appropriate. It has to be age appropriate. But sometimes we say, no, it may be gruesome, they may be, it might give them a repulsive feeling. No. Take them with you if you have to. If you know that the job where you are taking them is ready age-wise for that. I have done this with my nieces, I have done this with my students, I have done it with my own sons. It always helps. It is a great, great spirit of service to be able to help a nurse. I'm again and again using the word, to nurse an ailing person. It's a life-changing experience. Nothing in life can teach you to be a better human being than these kind of experiences. Now, when Rabindranath Tagore set up Shantiniketan, and with Shantiniketan, within 20 years, he started a rural reconstruction section. He realized that the true independence, true Swaraj, lies in the Swaraj and independence of the village people. From their darkness in terms of health, darkness in terms of social practices, darkness in terms of education, lack of education. So he did a number of things. He set up this whole unit, had the right kind of people join him from India and from abroad. In this project, one of the things was, there used to be a lot of the local fairs all around Shantiniketan in that district, Birbhum district. He, with some of the teachers, set up this group of students who would go and clean up these fairs. They will see that if people defecate in the open, they clean it up, they put some disinfectant, and this maintaining hygiene of this was the duty of some of the teachers and students of Shantiniketan and Sriniketan. This was very, very important. Once the boys of Shantiniketan wanted to donate money for a cause, so they said, we won't drink milk. Whatever the school spends on our milk should go to the fund. The news reached Rabindranath Tagore. He called them. He said, look, I can't allow you to do that at the cost of your own health. If you really feel strongly, go to the nearby railway station, and those days, to get to Shantiniketan from that railway station, which was about 2.5 kilometers away, was not easy. Most people had to walk. Some had bullock cart, and there weren't cars, there were not even rickshaws at that point of time. So, he said, go and help people carry their luggage. If you see elderly people, carry their holdalls. Those days the big holdalls used to come, or trunks. So what will happen is, you will get over that inhibition of doing the work of a porter or a coolie, and you will feel you have actually struggled, you have done some physical work, and you are being rightly paid for that. You put that money without keeping a paisa for yourself into this fund. Now, we haven't seen Tagore, but we have heard this from people who had first-hand experience of this, and we found it inspiring. There are many, many such stories. In 1922, when he first started talking about environment, planting trees, not excavating too much of fuel power from the ground, not having a kind of a sensible restricted growth pattern in terms of industry. These issues were on nobody's radar anywhere in the world. But then, it was in him. My question is, how did this man who grew up in a rich, cultured Kolkata family inculcate this spirit of service in him? The seed was sown when he was small. So that is, I'll again come back to the point, sow this seed of being unselfish, being caring into our children right from now. So people who support NGOs should actually come and talk to school children to help that mission. What should they do? If they don't have money, fair enough, come and work. Like in Ahmedabad, we have a wonderful example, Seva Cafe. Beautiful example of that, and our children go and work there. Now in COIS, Kalorex Olive International School, the school that I am attached with, and Visamo, we maintain a very close relationship. And it's such a pleasure when the children interact. For the Navratra, when Visamo kids come in, our children actually wait to run and welcome them, hold their hands and make them a part of the dance. Or they look forward to getting an opportunity to visit Visamo and spend some time with the children of Visamo. Socially, economically, in terms of language of instruction, in terms of the education board, whether it is Gujarat State Board and International Baccalaureate, there are many, many differences. But they are children. And because they are children, they don't find it so difficult to get over their differences. The same I have seen, we are very closely situated, the school is very closely situated between two villages, Ranchorpura and Rachara. Our students have gone on Raksha Bandhan and tied Rakhi, breaking all gender barriers, breaking all religious barriers, caste barriers, just as a gesture of friendship, they tied Rakhi to everyone. And it was spontaneously reciprocated the other way from the village children. Not so much from the adults, but from the children. When our children went and talked to the village slightly higher class 7, class 8 boys and girls that they would like to run a campaign about health and hygiene issues at puberty, they were initially shy, but when they realized the issue, they actually joined hands. So I remember that one or two children, they couldn't speak the local language, and one was from Korea. But the children of the village school completely took over. They didn't have any hesitation in talking to elderly ladies about menstrual period and any of those matters. So that's also service. And because they saw that it is for their good, the COIS children and the village children, they joined hands. They became school children, period, without any stamp of any speciality on them. So the basic point that I'm trying to make is, let's look at the children as our future force for service, and let's try and build them up, sow these seeds early, have these discussions as much as possible at school, over the dining table, everywhere possible. Now, I would like to, towards the end, mention one thing. When Dr. Amartya Sen got the Nobel Prize, there were lots written about him. He personally saw to it a few things got published, and there were 2 letters, 4 letters in fact, 2 that he wrote to his teacher when he was in school, and he was in the Shantiniketan school, he was the secretary of the social work section of the school government, and there was a teacher in charge. He wrote 2 letters to the teacher, and the teacher replied back about what plans they should take up for when they go to for the village visits and for the kids who play around on the campus and don't get educated. Now, who knows that those letters, that experience earned in school, could have been the first seed of welfare economy for which he is known world over. He must have realized at that point of time, and he said so, that I didn't quite word it that way, but I knew the choices that I had in life, the people I met in the villages or on the streets, those kids didn't have. So, this is not something which can happen only with some exceptional people. If it begins at school, and if it's nurtured in school and in the family, every one child can do this in their own life as they grow up. Some of you might have heard of Bunker Roy, who started this Barefoot University and the huge Telonia project to encourage village craft to be marketed and for them to earn money. I know the lady who started this Katha, culling material design and encouraging village women of Birbhum district to do it. And today Katha saris are a fashion. Now these people were educated in highly sophisticated English medium schools. They were members of absolutely urban families, but something in those schools that seed in them for service which blossomed later on in their lives. I used to work in Lawrence School, Sanawar in Himachal Pradesh some time back. Now, when old boys and girls come back, one visit they never miss, that is going to the nearest leprosy home. Teachers and students used to go to that leprosy home, read letters, help children make those charus which they will sell, actually talk to them as equals, and that service, that spirit, that impression remained with them throughout their lives. I've seen the Sanar girls actually sitting with each and every children of the grade 4 staff, combing their hair, taking the lice out, putting medicines, giving them something nutritious day after day. Now, these are the things which remained with them, and they all in their lives later on did something for the society, gave something back to the society because they earned that spirit, they imbibed that spirit while they were in school. So I think I will end here. I've taken your half an hour almost. Thank you for your patience, and I would be very, very happy to receive ideas from all of you of how to engage school children into service projects of a genuine nature. My imagination is limited, but my scope is also maybe limited. But all those who are listening, I'll be very, very happy if you could come up to Visamo or to COIS or approach me and say, there is a scope here. Would you like to engage your school children into that? Or why don't you come and visit this? You will learn a few things. I would be always ready to take up such things. This talk is just for me to open up some more avenues so that I can learn. It was in no way to educate anybody else. It was just a sharing. So do give me a chance and do share your experiences with me so that I can learn. And if I learn, I'm sure I'm going to give it back to my children of my school. Thank you very, very much for your patience. If there's any question, I'll be happy to answer. I'll see that check. Okay, so I will thank Visamo, I'll thank Kalorex, and take my leave. Have a wonderful evening ahead. Thank you.